Music now, some of the music items now being rendered in front of us, and it really has had quite a calming effect on the crowd in a way.
It certainly has, because it's been gospel music. The past three acts have been gospel, and I'm sure they'll rev it up sometime during the day. But I guess befitting, for people to just gather themselves and perhaps take in and get a sense of the occasion, Brock.
And also we can get blessings, or we deserve blessings from all sectors, I guess. Religious and traditional. So it's a good, again, it goes back to, our plurality as a country. Religious, secular, pop. It's good.
And of course, we look at religion, and coming from the elections, we were talking earlier when we saw Reverend Kenneth Meshwe enter, that somehow that religious ticket is keeping him there. We saw Al Jamaa getting a seat in Parliament as well.
Yeah, Kenneth Meshwe has that corner taken care of, right? He cannot get a seat because South Africa is, in as much as it is a secular country predominantly, but we have a significant segment of our people who are religious, and they feel quite strongly about their issues. And socially, South Africa is a very conservative society. So long as there's religion, Kenneth Meshwe is guaranteed of a seat. But the good thing, though, is that even though we allow people to express their religious views, we remain fundamentally a secular state, right? Our public schools, if you want to take an oath or an affirmation, you're allowed to express your own personal beliefs. That's a good thing.
All right. The other things that are beginning to swirl around. I mean, if you're the president, if you're Cyril Ramaphosa, what do you think he's doing now? And I mean, obviously, he's probably selected the suit last night. I certainly would have. But do you think that there's a lot of political stuff going on behind him, or do you think he's just focusing on his speech?
He's probably focusing on his speech. In the last few years or months, we've seen him in public spaces. He tends to fiddle with his speech even right to the last minute. Maybe he's doing that, I don't know, but perhaps because this is a much bigger occasion. I'm sure his speech writers had a lot to do with that speech. They must have revised it a couple of times. So, I don't know, maybe inspecting his kettle now or wherever he is, maybe around here, doing something that calms him, watching TV or something like that. But it's a nervous, understandably so, a nervous occasion. But he will handle it well. I mean, he's a good orator.
Oh, maybe he's taking a walk around the stadium.
And no one noticed.
He's known for doing such.
They think his brother, who looks very like him. Can I just ask, sorry to interrupt, Sakina, on the speech, so this is a moment, a set-piece moment. And I remember President Jacob Zuma's speech at the Union Buildings in his first inauguration, which was also a set-piece moment. A lot of people praised that speech, and I thought correctly. It said a lot of what I put in inverted commas, what people call the right things, whatever those are. How important is this speech for the president? I mean, yes, he'll have a State of the Nation. He's already had one this year. There'll be another one. But how important is this inauguration speech? You only get to do this once or twice.
And may I just, piggyback on that question, because we've already had a State of the Nation address this year, and we're going to have another one, and it's quite close to this particular speech.
This is the moment that Cyril has been wanting for years. He wanted to be president. Nelson Mandela wanted to make him his deputy, but the ANC establishment decided that Thabo Mbeki should be the deputy. Didn't quite like that decision, to a point where he never even attended Mandela's inauguration, by the way. That's how angry he was about that decision. But he stayed in politics, right? So this is the moment. It's here now. And there's a sense that he's on a mission. So this speech is not so much about him being president now, but it's about reflecting back to where we come from. My sense is that he wants to be a very iconic leader. He wants his presidency to mean something. Hence, you've seen the walkabouts. There's a certain cultural transformative element to his persona. So today is about defining where we come from, what we need to do. So this is meant to be a watershed moment, a break from the last wasted, if not lost years, into a new beginning. And also to redefine himself now as president. And most importantly, I think, because he kind of styles himself along Mandela. And also because there's this thing that is Mandela's protege. So he will want to to draw from that mythology of Mandela. But at the same time, he's quite aware that he's not Mandela. No one can be Mandela. So he needs to bring in his own biography as a trade union leader, a leader that cuts across different sectors of society, a leader for the very first time in a long time who is a public leader, an ANC leader who is a public leader. Previously, the ANC has had organizational leaders. This is a transcendental figure. So he has to speak to that, not only to South Africa, to the continent and the world.
Professor, thank you very much indeed. Jonathan Lungu standing by in Mpumalanga. Jonathan, good day to you. Where are you? What's happening there?
Welcome to Hluvukani here in the Bushbuckridge municipality. We are on the outskirts of Bushbuckridge municipality here in Mpumalanga. This is one of the areas where we visited during the elections. But today the main issue is about the inauguration of the president, where we went around and asked people as to how they feel with the inauguration of President Ramaphosa. This area where I'm standing in now, if you are coming from Johannesburg, it's about 470 km away, and if you are coming from the capital city of this province, Mpumalanga, it's about 140 kilometers. But if you are coming from the north, from Polokwane, it's around 240 kilometers. There are many issues here. We spoke to the people, and they expressed their feeling about the inauguration. One of them is meaning that you did well. But let me hear from him whether everything is well in this area. Wendegatle, welcome to our program. Today, the president is being inaugurated. Are you happy?
I won't say I'm really happy, but I will be happy if the president will deploy or employ competent officials. Because right now, many officials from municipality or from provincial government are incompetent because, if, for example, there were money which were made for internal street to do pavement. But first of all, they take the money to provincial road, which means they don't know what they are doing. So I would like to see President deploy or employ competent officials. And the other thing, I would like to see each and every person living in South Africa have an identification in order to combat crime. Thank you.
So the people here don't have identification?
Yeah, there are many people who don't have identification, and it affects children because when their parents don't have identification, they won't get the birth certificate and are not allowed to enroll at schools.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I've got another gentleman here with me who will also express his feelings about the inauguration of the president. Babnis, welcome to our program. I heard you talking about job opportunities. You want the president to create more job opportunities, especially for people in villages and rural areas.
Yeah, exactly. My belief was always that development starts from working. If you are not working, can't be developed. So where we are, as you can see around, there are no malls. We are supposed that Tlavekisa Mall and Islington Mall was to be built, which was going to employ many people. Secondly, from the government, they're giving our people learnership, which we think is not helping them because you work for a year and then another people come for another year. If ever they can do projects for women, gardening, farming, and this will help our people to get fresh products. And then another point is the training of youth. We have this Wildlife College here, which train people outside from South Africa, whereas we have people in South Africa where they can learn careers such as tourist guide, as we are in Kruger National Park, so that they can be employable. And another thing,
just in short, water, is there water here?
No, there's no water. It's a crisis. This rainwater was supposed to give us water. There's this Inyaka which doesn't give us water. If you have been in villages such as Tlavekisa, Gothenburg, there's no tiny water. They are getting water from the dams, and it's very, very worse.
All right. Thank you very much, sir, on that point. Well, those are the views of the people on the ground here in the villages as they are expecting the president to be inaugurated. From here in Hluvukani, I'm handing over to Mzwandile Mbeje.
Well, we continue to speak to a number of people who are invited guests who are making their way here, and the group has gotten a bit slower now. It means most of the people who are invited are inside, but of course there are those who are still coming in to grace this occasion to witness the election, or rather the inauguration of the president-elect, President Cyril Ramaphosa. With me is Rome Khumalo, very well known. He's a businessman, he's a broadcaster, he's a former SABC person. So, Mr. Khumalo, good to have you here. So, you are attending the inauguration. So how does it feel as a South African?
Oh, it feels amazing. I mean, this is my fifth one. And I really feel, it's such a fantastic idea to bring it here to the stadium and make it the inauguration of the people. So different from the union buildings. I've never felt comfortable at the union buildings. And today you see South Africa in all its diversity, and it's just an amazing day here in Pretoria.
So what are you hoping after the election, or rather after the inauguration, the president will do to get the country back on track?
Well, it's all about the economy. It's all about creating jobs, and it's all about youth unemployment. And I think the president is aware of all the challenges that we face as a country. It's a dawn of a new era, a dawn of fixing our economy, a dawn of getting South Africa back to work. And I think the focus has to be job creation and creating employment for the many young people, for the many young graduates who can't get employment. And that's the focus. It's the economy.
You've worked a lot on the continent, and there's a number of African leaders who will be present here. So what sort of advice, if you were to be afforded that opportunity, would you give to the president insofar as dealing with the African continent?
South Africa is a gateway, and still is the gateway to the rest of the continent. My one advice, not just to our president, but to all the presidents of Africa, is to open up the borders. We don't need the borders. Trade amongst the African countries is very low, and so we need to open up the borders. We need to trade more amongst ourselves. And so these presidents that are here today, and our president, must just make the one decision to open up our borders and make Africa borderless. We're all one.
Well, you're talking about Africa on Africa Day, but interestingly, you still witness events of xenophobia, or other people are calling it actually Afrophobia, because it tends to be targeted at black Africans.
Well, it's people who don't know our history. It's people who don't know where we come from. It's people who are so ignorant because they admire what's happening in Europe and elsewhere. But actually, we are one people. You travel to DRC Congo, to Tanzania, to Zimbabwe, to Ghana, to Nigeria. We are one people. Africa is one. All these borders were created by colonialists. And so it's really ignorant that makes people do those kind of really despicable deeds.
Thank you very much, Mr. Khumalo.
Thank you.
There was Romeo Khumalo there, the businessman, and he's obviously carried a lot of titles. So he's very optimistic about the inauguration of the President Cyril Ramaphosa. Let's take you back to the studio.
Well, thank you very much to Mzwandile Mbeje, coming to us live from the Loftus Versfeld, and of course a whole lot of other colleagues of ours who have been bringing us coverage of what's been happening there this morning, and they will continue to do so as the day unfolds.
Indeed, renewal and growth for a better South Africa is today's theme at the presidential inauguration taking place at Loftus Versfeld Stadium. Thank you so much.